Hey everyone. So we are getting into 6.5 today, writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines, part one. All right. Today in part one, we're going to be just focusing on parallel lines, and then part two, we'll begin into perpendicular lines. All right. So go ahead, take a couple minutes and get the title here and copy this slide here, including the graph, and we will get into parallel lines. Okay, so first things first, what are parallel lines? I'm sure you've seen this before, but here's the technical definition. It says if two different non-vertical lines in the same plane have the same slope, then they are parallel. Okay, so that's really the big thing right there. Two lines that have the same slope, they are considered parallel. Though, just kind of an interesting thing to I guess point out. Those lines would have to be non-vertical. So I guess technically, if we have two vertical lines like this, they're not considered parallel. And I think the reason why is because those slopes would be undefined. So that's just kind of an interesting thing to think about. But yeah, same slope. That's all we're kind of focusing on today. So let's kind of jump into dealing with parallel lines. Okay, so first things first, let's try this example together. This is a multiple choice example, so go ahead and get the directions here, and then we'll just figure out which one is the correct answer. So you don't need to write all four of the potential answers. We'll write out whichever one's the correct one. Okay, so go ahead and get those directions. Okay, so pretty simple problem when you wrap your head around what it means to be parallel. It says which equation represents a line that is parallel to this line right here, y equals 4 over 5x plus 2. All right, well, here's what we know about parallel lines. They must have the same slope. All right, so when you realize that, there's the slope of my line, 4 over 5. So skimming through, first one, close. It's a negative 4 over 5, not the same. So nope, that is not a parallel line. 1.5, nope. 1 over 3, nope. And this one does have a slope of 4 over 5. All right, which by the way, you notice it has a different y-intercept. That's completely fine. Actually, that's expected because, these are two different lines. If it had the same y-intercept, it would be the exact same line. Okay, but yes, since they have the same slope, D would be our answer. So on your paper, go ahead and write out that whole thing. D, y equals 4 over 5x minus 3. That is a parallel line. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to have you guys try one of these on your own. Go ahead and get these new directions here and figure out which one of these four lines is considered parallel. Give it a try. All right, so again, parallel lines must have the same slope, right? The slope of this line that we're looking at is a -2. All right, here's the thing on this problem. I notice I have two potential lines that are parallel. So these two ones have a -2 as my slope, which by the way, C and D have a +2. These aren't going to be my answers. Okay, so it's between these two, and it's only one of them. All right, so which one is it? Well, this is kind of what I was getting to on the last problem. If you guys notice on letter B, it has the same y-intercept of a +4. So those are not two different lines. Those are the exact same line. And a line isn't necessarily parallel to itself. So B doesn't make any sense because it's literally the same line. So our only option would be A. So there we have it. Okay, so yeah, pretty simple problems, just knowing, okay, parallel lines, same slope, that's what it's all about. All right, so from here, let's try an example that's asking a little bit more of us. It's asking what is the slope of the line parallel to this line here. So go ahead and copy this and we'll do this one together. Okay, so we know that the slope of the line that's parallel to this line here is also going to be the same as the slope of this line. So that's really the question, is what is the slope of this line? All right, well, to figure that out, one way of doing it is to get this equation into slope-intercept form. All right, so that's all we really need to realize is, okay, we're solving this thing for y, we're figuring out what the slope is, and then we'll know the slope of a parallel line. So let's go ahead and do that here. So, we've done this quite a bit on past lessons, so we know, let's bring this 8x over to the right here. Okay, that's giving me a +4y. Over here, just remember slope-intercept form. We want to put this first term with the variable. So a -8x first, and then this +5. Okay, last thing, getting rid of the 4. It's being multiplied, so we divide both sides completely. So we're getting y equals 4 divides into negative 8 evenly, right? So we're getting a negative 2x. 4 doesn't divide into 5, so we would actually leave the y-intercept as a 5 over 4. Okay, even though that's kind of a weird y-intercept, we're not really worried about it, right? Because we're just worried about what is the slope of a line parallel to this line. Well, it's going to be the same as this slope. Okay, so to answer our question, the slope of a line parallel to this line is going to have a slope of negative 2. Yeah, so really that's our answer there. All right, so yeah, nothing new math-wise, just kind of realizing what it's asking for. So I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and try one a lot like this. Go ahead and figure out what is the slope of the line parallel to this line here. Give it a try. All right, so yeah, to figure out the slope of the line parallel to this line, we need to figure out the slope of this line. So let's go ahead and solve this thing. Let's get in the slope-intercept form. So first, getting rid of the 6x over to the right. Okay, don't forget, this is a negative y on the left. That negative's still there. I'm going to put the negative 6x first and then the positive 1. Okay, from here, we can get rid of the negative. Remember, technically, this is a negative 1 that I'll divide into both sides. But if you guys remember, the little shortcut is if I want to change the signs on the left side, I can, as long as I change all of the signs on the right side. So this negative 6x becomes a positive. This positive 1 becomes a negative. Okay, technically, I divided by a negative 1, but I kind of like to do the shortcut. So yeah, here's the equation of our line. We can see it has a slope of 6. So the slope of a line parallel to this will also have a slope of 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and say slope of 6. All right, so yeah, pretty simple problems. I think we have a couple more that get a little bit trickier. So let's jump into another example. Okay, so go ahead, take a second, copy these directions. They'll repeat on the next one, so you won't have to get them again, but the directions are good. And then go ahead and get this information. We'll try this one together. Okay, so it says write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and is parallel to the given line. Okay, so we want to write the equation of a line that goes through this point that is parallel to this line. Okay, this is a lot like problems we were doing on the last lesson, but here's what we sort of need to realize, the information that's important. Obviously, we're going to use this point, all right? And we want to find the equation of a line that is parallel to this line. Well, if it's parallel, it's going to have the same slope, right? Okay, so we're going to use also a negative 1/2. The thing that is not going to be the same for our line that we're trying to write the equation of is the y-intercept. Okay, our y-intercept isn't going to be a 6. All right, we're going to figure out what it is by plugging this information in and solving for b, solving for the y-intercept. Okay, so that's kind of the idea on this problem here. So let's go ahead and let's do it here. So I guess first thing, let's just write slope-intercept form because it's always a good thing to have. All right, again, we know x and y. Remember, this is x, this is y, so I'm going to start plugging my numbers in. Y is a negative 2. Okay. We know the slope of our line. Since it's parallel to this line, it's going to have the same slope. So it also has a negative 1/2. Okay. We know our x value, it's a positive 4. What we don't know is the y-intercept of this new line. Okay, because again, it's not going to have a y-intercept of 6. It would be the exact same line if it had a y-intercept of 6. Okay, but we're going to figure out what it does. All right, so yeah, from here, we're just solving. That's the hard part, really, is really understanding, okay, that's the stuff I'm plugging in. From here, this math's pretty simple. So we got a negative 2. Okay, multiplying this, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2, but there's that negative. So we're getting a negative 2 here plus b. Okay, now we can solve for b, getting rid of this minus 2 by adding 2. And it looks like we're getting a 0 equals b, or b equals 0. Or in other words, our y-intercept of our line is 0. Okay, so what is the equation of a line that's parallel to this one that goes through this point? Well, it's going to be this. Y equals, again, it has the same slope, negative 1/2. Let me try that again. Negative 1/2 x, and our y-intercept is a 0. You could put plus 0 here, and I actually might encourage that. But if you guys remember, when our y-intercept is 0, normally it's just not written, and it would be written just like this. Okay, but in your notes, I don't think it's a bad idea to maybe put +0 and then show yourself, oh, okay, I can just write it as, y equals -1/2 x. Okay, so yeah, that is the line, again, that is parallel to this line. Yep, they have the same slope that goes through this point. Okay, so I'm gonna have you guys try one a lot like this. Okay, same directions. You don't need to get those again. Just go ahead and get this new information. And again, we're saying that the line goes through this point and is parallel to this line. So go ahead and plug the information you need to into slope-intercept form and figure out what that equation is. Okay, give this one a try. Okay, so here's what we know. We know our x value is -2, y value is an 11, and our slope is this number in front of x, which this is a -1 technically. All right, so that's going to be what I plug in for m. What we don't know is the y-intercept, the b value of this line that's parallel. So that's what we're going to figure out, just like the last problem. So let's go ahead and plug in our numbers. We got an 11 for y. Our slope is a -1. Our x value is a -2, and we don't know the y-intercept. All right, so let's simplify this. We got 11 equals double negative, it turns into a +2 plus b. Solving for b, subtract 2 from both sides. 11 minus 2 gives us 9. Okay, so there it is. The y-intercept of our line is 9. And now we can write the equation of the line that goes through this point that is parallel to this one. Okay, well, y equals our slope. Since it's parallel, again, it has the same slope, which is going to be a -1x. Or really, if we want to make it look nice, we can just say -x. Okay, if you want to put the 1 in there, that's fine though. Okay, but our y-intercept of this line is going to be a +9. Okay, so there it is. All right, so yeah, those problems, they're simple once you kind of realize what it's asking, but it's a little tricky to know, okay, this 5 here, I'm ignoring that. That's the y-intercept of this other line. I'm trying to figure out the y-intercept of my parallel line. All right, cool, guys. So yeah, that's the lesson here. We're going to eventually be looking at perpendicular lines. But yeah, I'll see you in class. Bye.